Spotify has decided to screw the little guy over even more. Let's talk about their latest announcement, how it affects indie musicians and music consumers, and what can be done to try to right this sinking ship we call the music industry. But first, please smash those like and subscribe buttons. You know the drill. Recently, Spotify announced that they will no longer be paying out royalties to any songs that get less than 1,000 streams in any given year. How does this affect indie musicians? And more importantly, how does this affect music consumers? And what can both parties do to help? I don't have all the answers, but I do have a few ideas that I think, if done on a grand scale, could make a positive difference. But first, let's take a look at a message a friend of mine recently received. Dear PlayStation customer, as of December 31st, 2023, due to our content licensing arrangements with content providers, you will no longer be able to watch any of your previously purchased Discovery content, and content will be removed from your video library. This should be very alarming to consumers. This is the primary danger of the streaming model itself. You don't own anything. You're not even renting the music. In fact, you're renting the platform to listen to the music that you don't own. That's a terrible system. And they can take it away anytime they want and leave you with nothing. The artists can too. If someone, say, like Neil Young, were to disagree with a certain popular podcaster's views, he can pull everything off of Spotify and leave you with nothing on there. Sure, you can find it on other streaming services, but what a pain in the ass. And what if you pulled it off of everything? What if your favorite band had their music pulled off of all of the streaming platforms? Don't think it can't happen? You know how many artists, directors, and producers got blacklisted during McCarthyism? Those people lost their ass because of changing political opinions and attitudes that were mostly outside of their control. And people get canceled for stupid shit all the time these days. So what can indie musicians do about it? I've been reading a lot of different opinions. From pull all of your music off of Spotify to inundate Spotify with so much content that their servers break. Either way, it's not positive. And I can understand the hate. I mean, say you had a business that made $1,000 a job, and then there was a big corporate entity across town that made about $10,000 a job, and then a rule comes along that says that if you don't make $5,000 a job, then they're going to take that $1,000 you make and give it to the big entity. That's basically what's going on. Now, the amounts we're talking about are much smaller than that, pretty much negligible, which is why the hardliners are telling us to remove all our stuff on principle. I get that. They don't want to support shitty business practices. They want to direct people to other streaming services, or better yet, to a place where they can purchase physical or digital products. The problem with this attitude is it doesn't take the audience into account. People are going to listen to where they want to listen, where it's the least expensive and most convenient. You can try to get people to listen on Tidal or Deezer, and a few may make the change, but it's going to be few and far between. Even so, consumers need to take note that a bunch of indie artists are removing their stuff from Spotify with no plans to return. So what's the answer? I think we need to look at what the ideal system would look like and then reverse engineer it. So when did the music industry kind of work? The simple answer, pre-Napster. There's a glorious time when you'd hear a few singles on the radio, maybe catch a video or two on MTV, and then go down to the record store and actually buy the CD or vinyl of the actual album. Later, after Napster got sued, there was a sweet spot in the 2000s with the advent of the iPod, Bandcamp, iTunes Store, etc. People were still buying music, but it was all digital. So the little guy didn't have to pay the expensive overhead costs of releasing physical media. This, in my opinion, was the ideal time to be an indie musician and a music consumer. It was just as easy for an artist to connect with their audience. They could release music at will, and it was a snap to buy that music. Plus, you owned it, so that means if the artist or label removed it later, you'd still have it. It's widely accepted amongst indie musicians that most of your listeners on Spotify are casual listeners. It's a great platform to pull in new listeners, but not such a great place to make a solid connection with your audience or to make enough money to live on. This is true about all streaming platforms. They're great to pull new people in, great to promote new music, but it pretty much stops there. Streaming sites are not a good substitute for record shops. They're a great substitute for the radio. Bandcamp page or a website where you're selling your actual products, that is a great substitute for the record shops. So rather than pulling everything off of streaming platforms or inundating them with all kinds of content, I think we need to find a middle ground, a happy medium, where indie musicians only upload singles to streaming platforms and you save your EPs and albums to sell. Stop giving everything away for free. Why would somebody buy your album if it's streaming everywhere anyway? If you have some albums up already, That's cool. You could leave them, or you could pull off any of the songs that aren't singles. Streaming is a great way to reach new fans, not make money, and it's a good idea to put your best foot forward with strong, radio-ready singles. Lead them to your albums and merchandise. And consumers, you need to do your part too and buy some music. These artists are creating for your entertainment. If you don't want them to disappear forever, you need to show them some real support. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. And when you get a chance, head over to thequiveringpalm.com and check out some of my stuff. Thanks for listening. This is KP signing off.